strongest cruiser in this entire
Oh,
roster.
definitely.
But
I don't know.
you have to make up a good point about Krim and Chapa versus like Monte and Trento. That's actually an interesting question to answer, basically. And I don't know the answer to that because I don't know how easily it would be to kill off the Chapa, right?
I don't
Everything hinges on your Chapa, and if your Chapa dies, then you're shit out of luck, you know?
Oh, and I've decided to take torps as well.
Well, it's encounter. That's
I'm
fair.
curious what with the current changes to torpedoes.
Torps are not a liability.
Oh, I meant in the
I mean,
tournament
they are, but
specifically.
how much of a liability are
I
they?
mean,
I've not really had massive problems. If they've been exploding,
they
I've
have
not
been exploding.
noticed.
I've been testing it, but my question is basically just let's rephrase it. The damage is still there, and it's going to be pretty painful. But the probability and tendency, I do not know that.
Yeah.
So that's basically the question.
From the matches we've been playing and a little bit of testing we did beforehand, if torpedoes are going to explode and kill you, you're already dead anyway.
That's fair, yeah. I mostly only tested striking the torpedoes directly and seeing how likely they are to detonate. On Ashima, for example, if you get hit by a 6-inch fire, you just die. The chance of detonation is actually quite high against a 6-inch shell, and
it's at this point I want to point out that we have a Shimakaze charging the enemy team.
What a brave man.
Oh,
from
and he's turning that way?
The
I mean,
synthetic detonation of
I've
the
done
6-inch
this
was
before.
much more violent as well. So it feels like the detonation sort of power is also proportional to what you got hit by. Because for some reason, if you set it off the torpedoes with a 40 mil, it does maybe 20% damage. Set it off with a 5-inch, like 50%, and then a 6-inch, I just died. And that's what I noticed.
How does that make sense?
I don't know. I'm gonna guess that it's just how many of these torpedoes are triggered at a single point in time, because different splash radii and what have
Don't
you.
they each have an individual death chance, though?
In theory, but the
explosive
way
stack.
Yes, that's one thing. So, at least with pressure damage, for example, pressure damage ticks on the server tick rate, which is every 0.66 seconds. And I'm going to guess
It's a destroyer going wide.
other weapon
Or
systems in the game, or other parts of the damage model in this game, also exhibit a similar property, where they, to alleviate game stress, they run things in a sort of tick rate. Basically, every game on the surface of the planet does this because
It's basically frame rate for servers.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is the implication of this is that if there's enough stuff happening, it'll be like trying to play a NES with 30 things on screen at once.
Yeah. So to alleviate this, they just sort of group things together in a server tick, and sort of. So one example being, for example, which is an exploit in a sense. You have Sergeant York M247, and you shoot the living daylights with HEVT. Just shoot the living daylights out of the front of a T-72. If you do it right, you can stack enough damage to actually pressure kill him. Because
so
within that server tick rate, within one server tick, you stacked. Yeah, damage per tick matters a lot, and it will act upon the first position you struck the T-72, with the condition being essentially the amount of projectiles that affected and interacted with the T-72 all get stacked up on that point that you initially struck them on. And that's how the pressure damage works. So...
I thought you were talking about armor degradation.
No, it's just...
I mean, too, it kind of works in the same way.
More like it works like an HE, or it's literally just a magical death sphere, that's what it is. It will just generate a spherical kill zone, and that spherical kill zone will just arbitrarily set amount of damage that it does to a bunch of modules and crew. And it's not really realistic at all, actually, but it's, from a gameplay perspective, it's fine. Like, it's acceptable.
It's functional.
In reality, overpressure is not that significant of an effect. It's not very lethal if you have even a modicum of cover, and for a tank, that's always going to be the case. Yeah, like, just for reference, one of the more gruesome side of things, there's video footage and documented after combat reports of individuals, human beings, struck directly by TOW 2 ATGMs.
Yeah.
And survival stories are not necessarily too common, but when they are, that's because
they were behind
there was some cover. Yeah. Yes, either buildings, soft cover of some sort, or other people. Even one person between you and the blast will save your life.
Well, yeah, because people are squishy.
Yes, and we are surprisingly shock absorbent.
Yeah.
If you're in a building and the building is hit by a very dramatic shockwave, you are less likely to die from the actual pressure damage and more likely to die from the debris.
Yeah.
For example, the building will literally collapse around you before you are
Die.
going to die from the pressure, which is to say that humans are quite shock resistant.
Yeah. It's like trying to shoot a water balloon.
Yeah, and the same, and because of that, in fact, if you take a look at anti-personnel sort of explosives, they tend to be more fragmentation focused.
Yeah.
That's why grenades aren't that flashy in real life.
That's why grenades are frag.
Well, they have pre-scored liners, as they're called, which essentially the idea is that you've sort of created deliberate weak points in the structure, and it looks like a pineapple because of that, because you've created these very obvious points of weakness, and the idea being there, it gives less of a threshold in terms of pressure to defeat that outer casing and send it flying.
I seem to recall that the pineappling,
fragment size as well.
like the Mark II frags from World War II, they figured out that it didn't actually have that much of an effect, so they stopped doing the outside stuff.
You get that rubber banding.
Well, they haven't stopped.
Yeah,
They
the
The extras on the outside didn't do too much, but they still pre-score the inside.
Yeah, they
'cause
score
that's
the
bit that really
inside.
affected it.
Pre-scoring is a very common practice in fragmentation everything. So projectiles, artillery,
Not even just
if you talk
fragmentation
about,
things. Like,
high explosive anti-tank, multi-purpose. The
any
multi-purpose
properly designed
aspect
mechanism
is-
will have weak points designed into it.
Yeah, mechanical compliance and all that stuff is par for the course, but
Well, it's
like, with
controlled
regards
failure
to-
points.
yes.
If something's
with
going to
regards
break, make that the cheapest bit.
Right. Anyways, the point is, well, you may want to make it break only when you want it to break, for example. That's an entirely different affair. But at the core of it, like, we are sorry, just go back to the game itself. Pressure damage is literally just
Dumb.
a sort of exaggerated version of overpressure for the purposes of gameplay, and it's fine.
It's not good though.
Well,
An
in some ways it
AVRE
is,
can
in some ways
lob
it
a
isn't.
shell onto the floor 7 foot from an enemy, and the enemy will explode.
Correct.
I thought
Which
they
shouldn't.
fixed the AVRE a bit.
So I don't know what they did with the most recent change to pressure, if they've readjusted
Nice.
the
Ooh,
pressure
nice.
zones. But if you wonder why, for example, people are getting 10 kill bombs with PE8, that was because they turned it into a death sphere. Like they
Literal
removed
nuke.
any dead zones. And then the second thing they did was they allowed it to ignore cover,
Yeah, that's the thing I'd heard.
which is
Are
those
we
two things
ignoring-
combined, because there were dead zones in pressure before that allowed entities to survive the pressure effect because there would just be dead zones.
But PE8 says no.
When they removed the dead zones, PE8, yeah, holy crap! I mean, I used even 100 kilogram bombs and
Yeah,
noticed that
that's...
they were very easily.
I was going to say, is this changed before or after the video about the 100 kilo bomb you posted? Because that was disgusting.
That was before. Like
Okay.
the change. Sorry, the video is from after that change
Wait,
came.
what happened
took
with
effect. So
100?
that change happened. That change happened
just
before
watch it.
I posted that video, basically.
Okay.
Oh, what?
But- Yeah, it's
Oh,
The change happened before... The change to fix the problem happened before...
Okay.
that 100 kilogram bomb effect was during the terrain ignoring.
That's what I meant. But have
Yeah,
they fixed that already, is what I'm asking.
They
Yeah,
said they changed it, but I'm
That's-
skeptical. I'm not sure.
I've
I have felt
heard-
a change, but I'm
I
not
heard
sure.
somebody complaining that the 50 and 100 kilogram bombs did nothing.
Well, they
I've
went from
noticed-
doing nothing to doing everything, and if they fixed it, they should be back to doing nothing.
Oh no, the hundreds were already good before, anyways. You just need a little bit of aim, because what's so nice about hundreds is that you can basically belly drop them.
Hmm.
See that how aggressive of a a dive attack I was running. If you can practice with it, they become quite lethal. And what's nice about them is that they don't really hamper your flight performance like 1,000 kilos do,
Yeah.
but they provide a very, very immediate, on-demand sort of point detonating effect.
But you have to be better aiming.
Yeah, it takes practice, but the benefits, I think, significantly outweigh it. And this is sort of why you'll see in a lot of tournaments back in the day, like the 100 tournament, people ran 50 kilo bombs on an LA-7, because the idea was that I'd rather win the air fight, and to do that I need a plane that can handle that, and I need to have bombs that won't hamper me too much. So, fair enough that the answer to that basically is LA-7 with 50 kilos. And in World War Mode, in fact, Season 1, we had a similar thing where the most quote-unquote optimal way to play would be with 50-kilogram bombs. Because you had a reticle, actually, that allowed you to drop it right on people's heads.
Yeah.
And that was super nice.
Alright, we were talking about Naval screwing the servers up, and we've just been having mild rewinds for this match.
Ooh, there's a summoner here.
As in, instead of it rubber banding constantly like it used to, it's just playing normally, shunted back a second. And yeah, that destroyer is USS Helena.
Oh, is
the
this
last
an
match.
intended feature? Is this a bug? The thing where you can't repair slightly damaged engines? Like, you know when they're yellow? But they're not available to repair, but then you've still lost like 5 kilometers movement speed.
Wait, the Helena is a destroyer, Jordan.
The player is called USS Helena.
It is.
Yes,
It's a
and he's in a
destroyer.
summoner. He's
Yeah.
the one who was in USS Helena in the last match that I mentioned was on brand. But I don't think you
Oh.
were here when I said that.
We're going to shit on some YouTubers.
Yeah, and then Trick did mention something about that.
Oh, I was just saying that.
I think
thought
he was
we were
getting ready
talking
to rat
about-
someone out.
I'd never do that.
On the other hand, my opinion of Baltimore has changed significantly over the course of this grind for Wyoming.
In a good way?
Well, the
bad.
first 5 matches were, this thing is absolutely useless.
Well, you didn't have FPE, did you?
I didn't have FP, I didn't have AP. Basically,
That would probably hamper his performance a fair bit.
well,
yeah.
when you get set on fire every single salvo, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't
I mean,
hit that
yeah.
thing.
I would say Baltimore is probably one of the more bearable American CAs.
It's the
because it
best
has
American
fire.
CA.
It's the best, sort of,
It's also the most
Yeah.
expensive.
the most
It's
bearable CA.
Basically, entirely upon the fact that it has 4 rounds a minute, which allows it to trade with a Trento. That's a sad statement, but that's true.
Yay.
The other thing is just it has stupid good AA, but then again, so does everything else that's American, so it's not exactly a
So does
standout
everything else
feature.
that's American.
Yeah,
The
but
other
it's
American-
another level.
I mean-
Baltimore has good AA. The other American cruisers, other than NOLA, which is a 1945 fit, have passably good AA because they get VT shells in fits that are pre-1943.
Yeah, the point is you have fast enough turret slowing, and you have VT 5-inch, and at that point you don't have to think, you know?
Well, I will admit I haven't been killed by a plane in this yet, I don't think. But the 5-inch guns like ceasing existence as soon as the enemy looks at me.
Yeah, you don't repair them until a plane starts getting towards you. Do you?
Oh, I haven't bothered researching parts because I know that repairing is what gets you killed.
It's such a weird. I wish you could just like have repair critical systems and repair other systems.
Considering it
or-
repairs
Yeah.
guns last as well.
I should probably get around to making a suggestion about more dynamic damage control, but I'm
Or just
Okay.
about damage control
I-
that has some
I have-
semblance of reality.
2 big reports that are more than 2 months like in the works now.
Yeah.
I
you
don't
have
know
enough-
if I can even start on the naval DM report, let alone a Damicon report.
I would say get a bigger plate, but I don't think you could carry a plate that's that big.
Yeah, you need a 5-inch plate.
I did actually get
Like a
around
CD.
to remembering that the lock rudder to position suggestion was a thing, so I just threw that out there. And they did say that, oh, you can just turn on relative control. I'm like, yeah, but can we have both at the same time rather than having to go back into the settings every time?
Yeah, because sometimes you just need to sit there and manually adjust the thing.
Yeah, in
And other
fact, in the
times-
same game, typically, you'll need both the ability to feather the rudder and to lock the rudder. Because
This is why having it,
boats like to feather it, and BBs like to lock it, you know?
and shy of that, sometimes you just have to be in a position where you want to be going around in a circle or something.
Yeah.
Like, say, what's the Savo Island map?
I didn't know we had one.
We have one, yeah. The Conquest map on the blue. It's the open ocean one.
Jungle?
Yeah, that's Guadalcanal.
That's not Savo. Oh, yeah, that's
Savo
not
Island is off. Savo Island is off Guadalcanal. It's just to the left
Right,
of the
but
map.
Yeah, that's not.
Alternatively,
actually,
making the map around Savo would actually probably be more entertaining. But
it'd be interesting.
except it would
probably be a
it would just be
to make
Denmark.
that night only.
It would be Denmark.
Yeah,
Denmark.
Well, you could
Is
force
Denmark
it
still
into,
in
quote-unquote,
rotation?
historical Savo conditions, so literally make everybody blind. But
That would be fun. I would like that would
is
be
that what it would turn Savo into fucking Iron Bottom Sound.
yeah. Well, it already is, but actually that would be
Savo
Halloween.
wasn't really. That would be an interesting one for Halloween.
Make that a Halloween event as a way of easing night battles into naval. There you go. There's a suggestion for you.
Maybe.
Because I want night
Interesting.
battles in naval.
Oh wow, they're still talking about the Polish tech tree apparently. Oh, I actually supported this one, Lamau.
So, do you know how satisfying it is to watch Baltimore firing in the dark?
That'd be pretty neat, yeah.
Yeah. Alternatively, having searchlights as an option as well would be great.
That would make I would like be heavily.
The server would die.
Well, no, we have them in game, but
Yeah.
I would heavily petition at that point that we just add a 1930s era Fuso.
Hmm.
Just because
Well,
Fuso with her pagoda mast,
Christmas tree.
Yes, actually, like searchlights were made for that thing, basically.
Yeah.
Be a Christmas tree.
Well, you mentioned Salvo, Iron Bottom Sound, and night battles, so I went searchlights because I just want to go. Watashi wa Alba des.
Fair.
Lol.
Alba, I really want to see Alba in game. Probably my favorite CA in the Japanese fleet because it actually had a decent history to it.
Yeah. And managed to survive literally getting gangbanged by an entire US fleet in one go, point blank.
Several times, in fact.
All single salvo killed a cargo ship. Wait, crew knocked out. They have crew?
Yes, they do.
I thought they were manned by
damage
robots.
bombs. I mean, yeah. But then so are your gunners, so...
True. I mean, they have got 4mm steel skin. Wait, what? I killed the plane? Oh, he must have flown into the island, because I do not recall getting any hits on him.
I mean, I critted him, so you must have killed him at some point.
Probably. Baltimore is great when the entire enemy team isn't made up of BBs. That's my summary.
Or when they're oblivious.
But like, Baltimore in a 4757 definitely deserves the 5-7 spawn, right? Baltimore in a 5060 does not deserve a 5-7 spot.
Well, because they have to actually consider what battleship spawn locations should be rather than fucking cruiser spawn locations.
You mean DD spawn locations?
No, they're definitely battleship cruisers. Like, because DDs have a different spawn location. DDs, I believe, can
Not on this map.
Wait, what map are you on? Oh, right.
Encounter, South Kvarken. Remember, most of the time,
that one, they really simplified the spawns for some reason. I have no idea why they did that.
Why is it so hot in here?
Because
it's because I'm playing War Thunder and my PC's warm.
I think that's a good example, though, of, what should we call it?
Quote-unquote map design?
Yeah, big problem.
Because they seem to think that destroyers, battleships, cruisers, battlecruisers... Hell, I can wager that if they put submarines in, they'd get PT boat spawns.
Oh, why not? Like DD spawns, something like that.
I mean, that would be a great way for me to just take out some fucking sub-chaser and just wreck them.
I know, which would be hilarious, but putting them forward of the battleships would also make them have some actual reasonable possibility of utility, because, you know...
That said, I genuinely don't want to see subs in this game.
The only reason I'd want to see subs in this game is for the purpose of having some means of dealing with battleships.
I mean, honestly, I'd rather see CVs trying to attempt to deal with that role before I'd like to see subs dealing with that role.
You see airdrop torpedoes to work, and then battleships would die.
No, they work. They're
no,
just
they don't.
shit. No, they work, but they're just shit. Basically, that's the
They're
thing. Like
1
they
meter
have.
depth stroke.
That's the same thing, Opti. They don't work because a Mark
Right.
13 to the magazine, or a Mark 13 to roughly anywhere on the side of the ship should kill a Huga. Especially in its pre-refit.
Well, 1920 state, yes, when it doesn't have like. Okay, it's just for reference. Hugo is probably the most advanced, one of the most advanced battleships to come out of World War One, just because it was made near the tail end of World War One.
But a 400-pound TNT warhead should still be.
So basically, the context of that being that even this vessel would take about 30 seconds to close its bulkheads, seal its bulkheads.
Yeah.
30 seconds is a lot of tonnage of water to rush in.
Yeah.
Like, that's a shit ton of water. And it's with that knowledge that we know that we know this because ships in World War One did get struck by Bliss-Leavitt torpedoes and Whitehead torpedoes.
See Sventistvan.
Wait, why
and-
wouldn't you have your bulkheads closed in battle situation?
Depends on the bulkheads.
Yes, and basically, just put it simply, munitions are designed to create entropy in a system that does not want entropy. So,
They are chaos sticks.
yes, I mean
Like bullets. Bodies
Yeah.
don't want entropy.
Very big ones, though. In the case of torpedoes, they're more like satchel charges that you just send to the enemy, but very big, way bigger than satchel charges. Even though,
To be fair, the KE of a torpedo is probably not going to contribute significantly to its destruction.
Joram, how am I
At
doing
all,
this?
in fact.
How am I unmolested?
Because the enemy are dumb. Congratulations.
Oh, there's a
balance
porter
torpedo
here.
off Something if it's a dud, it doesn't even make a
Oh,
dent in my
oh, it's
knowledge.
that guy. He's actually trying. Yeah, the only a torpedo wouldn't make a dent in the hull; it would just squish itself.
Yeah,
if
or
it didn't go
even
off.
just bounce off. You know, like 50 knots is the fastest you can get it for a lot of torpedoes. That's it may deform the warhead a bit. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Like,
a
it doesn't
ton
sound
moving
like
it.
to be-
Considering
Yeah,
that the
it's fast.
first, the end of a torpedo is pretty much empty, apart
Yeah,
from the
that's fair,
fuse.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably
So-
crumples. So it probably deformed the warhead a bit. But otherwise, like, yeah, it's not going to really do anything to the ship itself. Even if you struck a destroyer, you know, like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
those don't exactly have thick hulls. It's just
Shall we add a
Not
crew
really
skill
too
for
much.
fuse sensitivity setting for torpedoes?
that'd entirely probably be down to the design, frankly. You
No,
could
as
use
in
that,
the
but-
Type 93 had an adjustable fuse sensitivity, so you had crews setting the fuse
Sure.
sensitivity up to maximum because that'll kill it better, won't it? And then they detonate on waves.
I believe that was actually more built in, to my knowledge, where the detonator was already just simply too sensitive to begin with. So calibrating it wouldn't really have adjusted that, to my knowledge.
I don't know. Oh, that's a big
There's-
plane.
There
it's
were
probably come for me.
refits and adjustments made to the Type 93 throughout its service career, and one of them was fuse sensitivity.
Yeah.
So I know that you can technically adjust fuses, but I am fairly confident that this was more of a design issue,
Hmm.
less an operator issue.
I don't know. I just kind of found it funny that Type 93s could be set off by bow wakes.
Yeah, that was, I believe, one documented instance with was it Sodak? That's the most notable example
Yeah.
to my memory. But in general,
Trick, you have a
The-
Gorky off your left.
Yeah, I'm dead. I torped them all, so...
like, just for reference, it's not like they didn't have duds.
Yeah.
So like they could definitely still strike. They could go run the full course, strike a ship, and do nothing. And that was not necessarily.
Server is not responding.
Oh
I
boy.
had that. Same.
21% packet loss.
That's good to know. It's not me.
It's never you.
Well, it sometimes is. Like
Yeah,
the
but then
day
you
the
wouldn't be able to
internet-
talk to us.
Well,
About torpedoes.
Wait,
is,
what
would
Ognavoy?
the influence of bristance underwater to be much more significant.
yeah.
That would probably require some dynamic bristance value or something. But
Or
essentially,
just
the idea being that
Acknowledging the fact that water is a thing that exists and planes shouldn't just be floating.
well, it's more like cavitation is
That was a
fucking terrifying, and there is no amount of steel that will prevent cavitation from burning a big old hole
Yeah.
in your ship, especially from an explosion rather than just like
And shy of that, no amount of steel is going to stop your ship from splitting in half because there is suddenly a 10-meter deep hole underneath it.
Yeah, well, I remember hearing about